There is someone in your life right now who is slowly draining you. And the scariest part is that you probably call them a friend. Toxic people don't announce themselves. They show up as the person who always has a problem with your happiness. You know exactly which person came to mind the moment you started watching this. And that instinct is data you need to stop ignoring. The most dangerous toxic person isn't the one who yells. It's the one who makes you feel small so quietly you think you're imagining it. If you feel exhausted after every interaction with someone, that exhaustion is not a coincidence. It is information. Toxic people don't drain you all at once. They do it slowly, consistently, in amounts small enough that you keep convincing yourself it isn't happening. The person who celebrates your wins by immediately listing reasons they won't last is not being realistic. They are being threatened. If someone only shows up when they need something and disappears when you do, that is not a relationship. That is a transaction where you are always the one paying. The person who requires a constant stream of apologies from you but never offers one back has not found someone who keeps making mistakes. They have found someone they can control. When every conversation somehow ends up being about them, you are not talking to a friend. You are providing an audience. A boundary that gets crossed every time you set it is not a boundary problem. It is a person problem, and those two things require completely different solutions. The person who responds to every dream you share with a reason it will fail is not protecting you from disappointment. They are protecting themselves from being left behind. Help that is never acknowledged, never reciprocated, and never enough is not helping someone. It is funding someone's inability to function without you. A compliment with a sting in its tail is not a compliment. It is criticism wearing a disguise, and the disguise is for their comfort, not yours. You are not responsible for someone else's emotional survival. And the person who has made you feel otherwise has handed you a weight that was never yours to carry. Someone who is consistently late without acknowledgement is not bad at time management. They are telling you clearly what they think your time is worth. The person who takes credit for what you built has not made a mistake they'll correct when you point it out. They calculated that you wouldn't push back, and they were right until now. Being told your feelings are too much is not feedback. It is a management strategy used by people who benefit from you having less of them. The friend who shares your secrets has not slipped up. They have shown you the terms and conditions of the trust you placed in them, and those terms do not include you. If you are always the one who apologizes regardless of what happened, you have not found someone who brings out the best in you. You have found someone who found your off switch. The moment you see the pattern clearly, really see it, you cannot unsee it, and that moment of seeing is the beginning of everything that comes next. The version of yourself you see in their eyes is not who you are. It is who they need you to believe you are so that you stay exactly where you are useful to them. If you look at who you were 3 years ago and who you are now, and the only thing that changed was this person entering your life, that timeline is telling you something urgent. Doubt that arrives every single time you feel certain is not your own doubt. It has been installed by someone who benefits from you never feeling sure enough to move. When your memory of events keeps being replaced by their version of events, you are not misremembering. You are being systematically untaught your own experience. The joke that makes you feel bad about yourself is not a joke. It is a message that needed plausible deniability, and the deniability is the tell. Someone who is only present when they need something and absent when you do is not busy. They have simply organized their life around what serves them, and you have allowed it. Having the same painful conversation 17 times and expecting a different result is not optimism. It is the definition of a loop, and loops only end when one person stops walking in circles. Your feelings being redirected every time you try to express them is not a communication style. It is a system designed to ensure your inner life never inconveniences theirs. There is a version of your life with more color in it than this, and the only thing standing between you and that version is a choice you already know you need to make. Creating distance from someone who drains you is not abandonment. It is the most honest thing you can do for both of you, even if only one of you will understand that. Not engaging with manufactured drama is not avoidance. It is the recognition that some fires were built specifically to consume your energy and nothing else. Responding to manipulation with a calm question instead of a reaction removes the entire mechanism the manipulation was designed to trigger. And that removal is a skill, not an accident. Reducing your availability is not cruelty. It is calibration, and the person whose behavior improves when you become less available has just shown you exactly what was driving the behavior. Stopping mid-justification when you realize the other person has already decided not to believe you is not giving up. It is the conservation of something you cannot afford to keep wasting. Being punished with silence for something reasonable is not a communication problem. It is a control mechanism, and recognizing it as one is the first step to not being controlled by it. The moment you see the cycle drawn out, conflict, apology, brief calm, repeat, you understand that you have not been in a relationship, you have been in a pattern. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is the correction of a long imbalance, and the discomfort you feel doing it is the sound of a very old and very wrong habit breaking. The first conversation where you don't shrink will feel strange, not because something is wrong, but because something is finally right after a very long time of being wrong. Ending something that has been draining you is not a loss. It is the retrieval of everything that was being taken in small daily amounts that you had stopped noticing were missing. The color that starts coming back in the days after you remove someone toxic is not new. It is yours. It was always yours. It was simply being redirected somewhere else the entire time. The sleep that comes when the weight of managing someone else's instability is finally off you is a kind of rest you may not have experienced in longer than you can immediately remember. Laughing without checking whether it's allowed is a small thing that lands like an enormous thing the first time you do it after a long time of doing the opposite. Making a decision without consulting someone who was never going to support it anyway is not reckless. It is the first real decision you've made in however long they've been in the room. Once you know what a draining person feels like, you will start recognizing them earlier. Not with paranoia, but with the quiet competence of someone who has learned an expensive lesson and kept it. You get to decide who has access to your time, your energy, and your presence. And the fact that this feels revolutionary right now tells you exactly how long someone has had you convinced that you don't. Not everyone who has been in your life for a long time has earned the right to stay. Length of time is not the same as quality of presence, and you are allowed to know the difference. The room you're standing in right now can be warmer, brighter, and fuller than it currently is. And the people who belong in that room are already out there waiting for the space you're about to create. Making two lists, people who leave you fuller and people who leave you emptier. And being completely honest about which names go where is one of the most clarifying things you will ever do. Your energy is not a resource available to everyone equally. It is the most valuable thing you own, and who you give it to is the most important decision you make every single day.